Have you ever ordered something on one of these food delivery apps, delivery, Uber Eats, etc., etc., and you ordered, and sometimes a male was going to deliver an order, instead of that a female comes, or the person who is stated over there doesn't deliver, someone else comes and delivers. This had been a common occurrence in most of these delivery companies that people were using. Hence, the Home Office ended up with this crackdown, and this is the news article that has come, what the Home Office has done, their intentions, etc., etc., which I'm going to discuss. Along with this, I'm also going to address the points of the right to work penalties, civil penalties that have increased because of students sometimes overworking with employers, or even skilled workers when they are not allowed to work with a certain employer, they try to work. Along with the delivery, illegal work in the delivery sector. Along with that, I'm going to address some other sectors which the Home Office has been cracking down. This is a news article. I will take it line by line, and I will also give my inputs on it. So this news article, I'll link it down in the description. So I think this is what I've received on 9th of August 2025. So hundreds arrested in illegal delivery rider shutdown. That's what is the news story from the UK government. It's on gov.uk on the government website. Illegal workers arrested in nationwide enforcement surge as part of government's drive to crack down on immigration crime. Hundreds of arrests have been made across the UK following a week-long crackdown. This has been ongoing. Everyone is aware now. Almost everyone knows this delivery riders issue, where people have been sharing their accounts, or one person just registers as the person who is going to work, but someone else in reality works, and there is some whatever revenue sharing that they do in between both the parties. So this is what a week-long crackdown has happened on riders working illegally for delivery firms under Operation Equalize. So this is the name of the operation, Operation Equalize. The Home Office enforcement team launched a nationwide intensification week of activity targeting illegal working hotspots with a focus on the gig economy. So this is called as the gig economy, where everything comes right at the touch of a button to our any location that you want. So, and migrants working as delivery riders, very much the specific focus on delivery riders only. Between 20th and 27th of July, a total of about 1800 individuals were stopped and spoken to, and leading to 280 arrests. So, for illegal working activity. As a direct result of this operation, 53 individuals are now having their asylum support reviewed. So, once you file asylum, just to give a background, they get some asylum support for their subsistence, the money, etc., for living expenses. So if someone is doing that, that support may be withdrawn. Any asylum seeker who is not allowed to work, which is the restriction till a decision is made on their application. So if they are working illegally under this delivery sector by sharing accounts, etc., their support will be taken away. So that is what they are reviewing, to take away the support from them, with the financial support, which could result in their support being suspended or withdrawn. This follows warnings from ministers last month that anyone caught flagrantly abusing the immigration system could face having their asylum support seized. So this was already warned. Ministers had already declared this in on various channels. So now it is in action, such as entitlement to accommodation. The accommodation may be taken away, or payments may be stopped, etc., etc. Those caught working illegally face removal from the UK, and they may also face removal from the UK. The results come as the Home Office confirms today, 9th of August, that immigration enforcement teams will receive a 5 million funding boost. So government is investing more money in this project to catch all these illegal working in the delivery sector. 5 million has been invested to ramp up illegal working intensification activity even further. And now they are going to expand it beyond not just delivery, they'll go into other areas also. So I think that's what they are referring to. The cash injection to be drawn from the 100 million investment for border security announced earlier this week will contribute to a major surge in enforcement visits. So anyways, enforcement visits to all these nail salons, restaurants, etc., all the high risk areas have increased. Enforcement officers are visiting, so that will be further increased over the coming months. We'll see more activity in this area. It will allow officers to revisit and re-attend illegal working hotspots more frequently and increase enforcement teams' intelligence gathering capabilities to support frontline enforcement activity. So, revisits and re-attend illegal working hotspots. So this is quite common that you will see anytime restaurants or even nail salons or whichever business establishments they have already visited and they found someone not working, not having the rights to work and still working over there. They do have they have been revisiting such hotspots. So employers think once it is done, it's done. It's not like that. They are revisiting and re-attending similar working hotspots or even the same establishment. The results of Operation Equalize come just weeks after the Home Office announced a new agreement with top food delivery firms. So there was an agreement that was signed between all the delivery firms, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eat, and with the government on the other side to receive new information concerning the location of asylum hotels to help better target people working illegally. Minister for Border Security and Asylum, Dame Angela Eagle, said illegal working undermines our border security. We are cracking down hard on it. That's why we have intensified our enforcement activity right across the UK to crack on those who think they can evade immigration employment laws. This government is making sure rules are respected. This operation is just one example of relentless efforts. In addition to the arrest made as part of the Operation Equalize, 51 businesses, including car washes, restaurants, and retail premises, 51 businesses, were issued civil penalty referral notices. So, this is what I was talking about, the civil penalty notices. This could see them face hefty fines if they are found to have employed illegal workers. So, and failed to conduct relevant pre employment checks if right to work checks were not done. The operation was also supported by police forces across the UK, officers with officers seizing 71 vehicles throughout the week, including 58 e-bikes, as well as 8,000 in cash under the proceeds of crime. Act around 460,000, 460,000 in illicit cigarettes. So everything they are catching. So what is happening is even not just the asylum seekers who are working illegally, even we have observed many students who are working in breach of their immigration conditions. So they are only allowed 20 hours. I know for a fact, maybe I have seen the refusal letter or a cancellation of the student permission where the student had been working with one of these delivery companies, I think, and his student visa has been cancelled. So that's basically immediate cancellation. There is no recourse to any appeals or challenges. Yeah, so this is my wise advice to students. Don't Firstly, you are not allowed to be self-employed, number one. Number two, yeah, only 20 hours is allowed to being employed, and doing delivery jobs is not part of this because delivery jobs is a kind of self-employment. It's your own business. It is not a salaried employment. So usually students should avoid this. Even skilled workers, I know because of the last 3 to 5 years of all the abuse that has happened, especially in the social care sector where care worker visas, many frauds have happened. Individuals have the permissions but they don't have work for whatever reason. Employer has lost license or company has closed down, employer is not giving them hours, whatever that is. So people may try to work in these areas, especially this food delivery thing. You are not allowed to work. So I'll just simplify the rule here. So the 20 hours additional, firstly, let's take the first point, is only allowed if you're working with your main employer. That's number one. If you're not working for the contracted hours as per the certificate of sponsorship, you're not allowed to do the 20 hours. I have been asked this question many times on the channel as well. So if you are working for the contracted hours, only then you can work the supplementary 20 hours, which is also in a skilled occupation. Now, if you're not working for the main employer, you cannot do the 20 hours additional, doesn't matter wherever, even with another employer, you cannot do it. If you are working with your current sponsor, then the 20 hours also you cannot do that as a delivery rider. That is completely classed as self-employment. There are different videos I've made about skilled workers not allowed to start up businesses and all. You can search it on the channel. I've gone in detail on that aspect. So that is very, very important. So skilled workers avoid getting into this, or even students not allowed to do this. Graduate holders, yes, you are allowed to be self-employed. You can be a delivery driver, But yeah, at this point, I think there is no restriction on them. So that is the only visa area where you can be working if you are on any of the points-based routes. Okay, continuing with this, and I will add on other points as I go forward. So during one of the operations on Tuesday, officers in Westland arrested 7 Indian nationals in Hillingdon, with 5 detained as a result. Meanwhile, immigration enforcement officers made 3 arrests in Dumfries, Scotland. So it is happening across the UK during a joint operation with police and trading standards on tobacco control. And on Friday, 25th July, 5 e-bikes, that e-bike thing is getting very common now. E-bikes were seized by police in Birmingham city center, where immigration officers arrested 2 riders of Bangladeshi and Ethiopian nationality for illegal working offences. So the director of enforcement, compliance and crime at the Home Office said, we continue to intensify our activity against those who think they can get away with working illegally. Uh, his teams have been taking action around the clock across the country, and I thank them all. So that's what he's saying. Further, the government is also tightening the law by making it a legal requirement for all companies, including the gig economy, to check that anyone working for them has a legal right to do so. This has changed quite back, but I still see that many employers are not aware of this. I'll just take an example and explain this concept. So, this is the right to work check requirement. Previously, the situation was, if I am the employer and I employ someone, let's say on the payroll, and I'm going to pay the salary of that person, I'm required to do the right to work check. I cannot outsource it to anyone, whether those ID check companies or even to lawyers or whoever that is. I am responsible, or my HR team. The company is responsible. Now, this has been extended further. Anyone who is also subcontracting, for example, agency workers, very common one. It was very common. Abuse was happening in building sector, etc., where agencies would send the workers, but the main employer who they are working for, they don't have a direct contract. Obviously, they pay the agency pays them. In this way, employers were getting around this. But then this is what the government has changed. It has changed quite a long time back, but now it has been heavily enforced. I'll talk about the data sharing from HMRC also. I have it on my notes, so I will take that aspect. First, the government is also tightening the law by making it a legal requirement. It is a legal requirement for all companies, including the economy. So that is what the delivery thing. Um, for all companies to check that anyone working for them has the legal right to do so. So even as an employer, if I hire someone through an agency, I also am also required to check. It's a legal requirement for me to check that they have right to work in the UK. That's very, very important. Previously, that was not the case. Subcontractors were exempt, but anyone who is working for me, however they are working, they may be physically working at a premise, they may be remotely working, however they are working, I as an employer am responsible, even if I'm not running their payroll. Very, very important thing. And the same applies for these gig economy workers or delivery riders also, where all these delivery companies, delivery Uber Eats, etc., they have to check the right to work of that individual who is working for them. And now they're trying to see that the same individual is working for them. That's what they're trying to enforce. So with this, this will end the abuse of flexible working arrangements. The new measures will be introduced through the landmark border security. So the new laws are coming into play. These measures form a key part of a whole system approach to tackling illegal immigration from every angle. By removing the false promise of jobs used by smuggling gangs to sell spaces on small boats. That's about the Asylum area. Now, just this week, the Home Office announced the latest step towards dismantling criminal trade in small boat crossings. There is a deal signed with France where they send one person who has traveled from here to there, and then UK sends someone who has traveled from France to here. So there is this one in, one out, something that they are calling. So that is specifically on the asylum side of things. On top of this, a wider 100 million investment in border security confirmed earlier this week will drive a major new crackdown by funding up to 300 extra National Crime Agency officers. State-of-the-art technology to smash the networks in crossing the channel. And since coming into power, the government, so this is about the government's numbers also, has also returned 35,000 people with no right to work in the UK have been returned since the new government came into play, including failed asylum seekers, immigration and foreign national offenders. And since the election, there are now fewer asylum hotels open, saving millions of taxpayers' money. So I was going to touch on the point of HMRC data sharing. This is an important one. Many employers who employ students, for example, let me take that example, and someone who has already worked, and HMRC gets all the payroll information. Obviously, it's real time every month or every whatever the frequency of payment is there, that reporting has to be done through the HMRC payroll system. Once HMRC get that information, there is a HMRC data sharing agreement with Home Office, UK Home Office. So HMRC is sending information about payrolls, especially about students or skilled workers. Especially students, it's very common because Home Office has started sending the civil penalty notices to the employer. So for example, let's say I'm an employer and with me I'm a company, and let's say there was a student working in the company. We have done the right to work check, that is perfectly fine. But then the student, uh, many employers are getting this. Sometimes students will work more than 20 hours. They may be working only 10 hours with me, 10 hours with someone, 10 hours with someone. But then the national insurance number will have record of all their employments. So in that way, if the hours of work are going up, even that's a very difficult one to find out also. But then employers, especially anytime, if the student, let's say instead of 20 he has worked 30 hours, just taking an example, he worked with 3 employers 10 hours. For my purposes as an employer, I have checked it, he's worked only 10 hours, that's fine. I don't know about his other employments. But then all the 3 employers are usually getting notices from Home Office for to provide further information request for that employees, how many hours, etc. he has worked. And then subsequently they are also getting fines after the further information request, depending on how much negligence or how much involvement of that employer was in that breach of that right to work. This is just an example, but there are many such cases. Even employers who are where employees in that 20 hour, now talking of the skilled worker, there are several examples, I'm just taking one example to touch on the aspect, how the HMRC data sharing is happening. If an individual is working 20 hours with an X company, so they may not be working with the main employer. Even in that cases also, the employer has a right to confirm, has an obligation to confirm that they are working for their sponsored job. If they don't confirm that, just offer the employment, then they have a problem. They can be subject to penalty. So the information request is sent to many such employers. I know we are also getting many queries on this. I've heard from other lawyers as well. Many employers are getting this information request. So initially a penalty is not sent, an information request is sent. Please provide us all the information about this person who has worked with you throughout whatever period of time that they have from HMRC. And once that information is gathered, and from then that's what comes out, that the person has worked in breach of their conditions. And then further notice for penalty, and any defenses that the employer has, they have to produce it or pay the civil penalty. It's a common one. This is quite new. I know people are not aware of this, the HMRC data sharing that is happening. We lawyers have seen many of them. I've spoken to other lawyers also, and even employers I've discussed with where who have got such information requests. So if you are an employer, you are stuck, make sure book a consultation with us, discuss any issues. If you are an employee with employees, if you are the skilled worker or the student or anyone who is working in breach of their conditions, stop doing that. If you already done that, make sure you do, because then it also impacts the applicant. It slowly comes out. First it goes to employer, whatever the penalties are there, whatever has been established. After that it would also come to, especially many student visas are cancelled that I'm aware of. uh, Student visa cancelled for many reasons. One of them is this working in breach of conditions, either being self-employed by being a delivery rider or working more than 20 hours, or other things also have come into play where students are not attending. There are some proxy attendances, someone else gives attendance and then that student's permission is directly cancelled. So don't do any of such things, that is my request. But then if you have done something and any information request or anything you want to discuss, book a consultation with us. Link will be in the description. I will also link it here. And that is what I wanted to cover in this video. I have made an earlier video on so if you did like this video, do subscribe to the channel. And if you want to know about how the skilled worker visa system almost because of the latest changes from 22nd July. It's almost come to a collapse kind of. It's almost collapse with all the changes that have happened from 22nd of July, especially level 6 jobs only allowed, dependents not allowed, etc. etc. Watch this video here. I'll link it over here. And thank you very much for watching.